you ready to be unleashed and unstoppable?
You're successful and stuck. Where are you burned out and standing in your own way? Are you ready to make your finances and your whole life work?
Are you ready to experience a breakthrough and step into your next level of leadership?
Living a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms, unapologetically.
You are where you are because of the way that you think. You are the creator of your reality. You are the creator of your thoughts.
This podcast is about discovering how to play big, how to be unleashed and unstoppable.
Through wiring in your success at the source as you step into your full potential as a wildly ambitious leader.
We are Alex Leanne Carter, founder and CEO of Ambition Unleashed, and Carol Register, founder and CEO of Success Uniquely Yours.
Let's get unleashed and unstoppable. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Unleashed and Unstoppable. I am really excited to dive into today's topic. So, Carol, I know you and I were talking a little bit earlier, and I shared with you that one of the most common things I often hear from my clients is that they feel unmotivated, that they feel exhausted, they feel like they are spinning. And I'm excited for us to really dive in to uncover what is keeping our clients stuck. What is keeping you, the listener, stuck, feeling unmotivated, feeling like you're spinning, so that you truly can become unleashed and unstoppable.
I love that, Alex. I think it's such an important topic to explore because we've all been there, right? I know I've been there for sure. And yeah, what is it that is getting in the way of moving forward and really leaning in and finding out where are things going wrong? And we were talking earlier about, for me, a part of it is alignment. Where am I out of alignment? Because we have to be in alignment in order to move forward. And we can automatically know that we're out of alignment. So then it's like being an explorer, right? Going in and finding out where we're out of alignment and just really leaning in there. So I'd love to hear more about ways we can uncover how we are stuck. What is going on there? Where do we get to be an explorer at and dive deep? And what are your suggestions to start with, Alex?
Well, I think one of the things I notice is this living on autopilot. You find yourself doing the same thing day in, day out, things that you started to do, like say a morning routine, a workout, maybe you're journaling, maybe you're meditating. Those things just start to become this automatic thing that you do every day. And maybe the fun and enjoyment of that is now no longer existent. And you feel like you're getting in, you're like trying to find ways to get in the workout. And you used to maybe get an hour workout, let's say, and now you're like just squeezing in a 20-minute workout. And that out of alignment piece is huge because you lose connection with why you're doing it. And Carol and I know we speak so much into this, like why we do what we do is fueled by why we do it. And so the moment you do find yourself out of alignment, you find yourselves doing things that maybe you don't even know why you're doing them anymore, but you feel like you should be doing them. And just checking in with yourself, right? Getting realigned with your vision. I know Carol and I always talk about this. We talked a lot about this in our last couple episodes. Like having clarity on the vision and what it is that you want can really help you. And we were just talking earlier, right, Carol, about how for some, being clear on what it is that you want, your brain actually wants to keep you safe. And you may experience this whole, you might be listening thinking, yeah, but I don't know what I want. So what do we do, Carol, if we're thinking like, I don't know what I want?
Well, it's a great question. And one of the things we start with is questions. The quality of your life is really determined by the quality of your questions. And I want to touch back on that alignment piece. I want to weave this in for you guys a lot in becoming unleashed and unstoppable, how important it is to be in alignment. What do I mean by that? What are your values? What are the things that are important to you? Because I told Alex, one of the things that I discovered is that where I was stuck, I was saying, I want X, I want this. And when I went back, I could see that I wasn't living up to my values. I wasn't leaning into my values. So there was misalignment there. And anytime there's misalignment, we're going to find ourselves stuck and we're going to find ourselves not moving forward. So starting to lean into asking yourself questions, remind yourself, maybe you've never explored that question. And this is one of the things that we do in our program. What are your values? What is important to you? Because your values are tied to your identity. And if you're not in alignment, again, you're going to be unclear. And that's where confusion sets in. And you're like, maybe you thought you knew what you wanted, and all of a sudden you're confused. Have you ever had that happen, Alex?
Well, you feel it. You feel it sometimes inside of you. You feel a bit of resistance. You feel like this lack of clarity, which if you're saying, well, I don't know what I want, that is your brain's way of actually keeping you safe. Because the truth is, you actually really do know what you want. It really is in you. And sometimes I wish I could record some conversations I have with friends and clients sometimes, because you can hear it. Your brain's blocking that from you to actually connecting with it, because maybe you haven't asked yourself about what it is that you want, or you haven't connected with your values, or you haven't connected with how is it that you want to feel. See, with high achievers, you're so caught up in the doing that it's about, what am I doing? What job am I doing? Tying a lot of your worth to the work that you do. What are you producing? What are your achievements? Versus really looking at, how do I want to feel? Like clients will say, well, I lack motivation, or I feel tired. So it's funny how they'll share how they're feeling, but yet what's causing the lack of motivation, what's causing them lacking the energy or the focus or the clarity, is often because they feel like they're not doing enough, or they lack the motivation to do. And we spoke about this a couple episodes too, like the question of, are you a human doing or a human being? So connecting with the values, how it makes you feel. And yeah, like you said before, Carol, like what's important to you? What do you do though, Carol? Like if you're the listener and you're like, okay, I hear you, but I really truly feel stuck. I'm feeling like I just don't know what I want anymore. I feel really confused. I thought I knew what I wanted, but I just feel really defeated, and I feel like I'm just spinning. And like, how do I get out of this?
Well, let's go back again to the way the brain works. First and foremost, your beautiful brain is working properly. And that's the exciting piece, right? Your brain's job is to protect your automated system. And as we move forward, we are stretching outside of what's automated. It's new, it's growing. So the automated system is the comfort zone. It's whatever's familiar. And when you find yourself feeling stuck, it's one of the ways that your brain wants to keep that automated system protected, wants to keep you safe by keeping you in the familiar. So again, I'll go back to it. One of the first ways you can start is the acknowledgement of what's going on. Know that your brain's working for you the way it's supposed to. We just get to train it to move out of that and into the growth cycle. And you get to ask yourself questions, going back to our identity. And that's where the values comes out of. What are your values? Start there, because it sounds so simple, but it's really where we start to become unleashed and unstoppable. And not only what are your values, but leaning into that clarity piece. And this is where you really can use a mentor and a guide. This is the value of having somebody in your life who can speak you through these things, walk you through what questions to ask yourself, to know exactly what Alex is saying about the clarity piece, that it is within you. So yeah, questioning your values and knowing that you know on the inside, and just asking yourself what's important to you.
What's coming to me there, Carol, when I'm hearing you speak, there's trust, right? Trusting yourself, right? Trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, and just connecting with that. I mean, one of the biggest challenges with high achievers is that you're so busy that sometimes the busyness creates a block for you to even connect with what it is that you want. And so being able to actually slow down, to even ask yourself these questions, even get connected with what's important to you and what your values are. Like, when was the last time you stopped and got some clarity on that? When is the last time that you slowed down enough to really think about your life, to really think about what is important to you? Because when you find yourself on autopilot, living day in and day out, just on this autopilot, you are in automation and you're doing things without really thinking about it, which means you're not taking some time to get connected with what's important to you. And it is when you start to feel out of alignment, that's when you start to, I know for me, when I started to approach the burnout, I started to feel it. And I did start to ask these questions like, how do I get off this autopilot? How do I get off the hamster wheel? I'm not feeling happy. Like, this is a big thing around fulfillment. Like, maybe you're not feeling happy. Or maybe you feel happy for a little bit and then you find yourself feeling unhappy again. You know that's the first sign that you're definitely out of alignment. And there's definitely some sort of internal going on inside of you. And these are things, I think what's really important to drive home here is your values can change over time. What's important to you is going to change over time. Carol and I work with our clients on sort of like 90-day cycles. And every 90 days, those things can change too.
That's such a great, important piece about the fact that we evolve and we grow and we don't have to be stuck. Things can change even as we're moving forward, and really learning to lean in and trust ourselves. Such an important point. You have it within you. You know the answers. And this is the exciting part of the work that Alex, Leanne, and I do together, is helping you to uncover those answers that are inside of you. You could start right now today, though, by asking yourself the questions and recognizing what your brain is doing. So its whole job is to keep you in this comfort zone. And you're going to grow and go for something, or at least that's what high achievers are usually on the path of doing, right? And all of the sudden, it's very uncomfortable. Well, how do you deal with that? This is where we're going to lean in to more episodes about more concrete things about what the brain is doing here. Right now, start with listening to your values, lining those values up, and just listening to your heart, listening to what you're feeling, acknowledge it. One of the things that Alex and I were talking about earlier is that we go through life stuffing our feelings down, and it's not okay to feel them, and just keep going. And especially if you've learned to be a high achiever, you just want to move past it. Oh yeah, I'm going to shift out of it. But really, that is not where the growth happens. That is not where you become unleashed and unstoppable. It is actually in the slowing down, in the acknowledging of what you are feeling and really validating that things become limitless.
And there's the power in that pause. As you're saying to slow down, you want to slow down to be able to speed up. There's such power in the pause when you are able to ask yourself questions, get connected to what's important to you. And I was just thinking about a conversation I was having yesterday with a good friend of mine. And I was thinking about sometimes we're talking about like the now. And you're right, because your brain is wired to keep you in the safe and familiar where you are right now. Sometimes what can be supportive is if you step outside of the now and think a little bit more about the future and looking a bit back on your life. So I know a common exercise that we sometimes do, I've done, I know some of their clients, is like thinking about yourself, like say 86 years of age. Like, where do you, like at that point in life, if you were to now look back on your life, what are the things that are going to be landing with you? If you're having conversations with your grandchildren, if you're having conversations with your great-grandchildren, like what are the things and the experiences and how you live life that you want to be sharing with them? And I think that can be really supportive, because especially if you're feeling really stuck, like feeling like I can't get the clarity, or just you feel really frustrated, sometimes being able to like step outside of where you currently are can be supportive because you're removing yourself from the current situation. And that can be really, really helpful with your brain because, like Carol has really driven home is before, like your brain is really wired to keep you in the same familiar. And so its job is to protect you. Its job is to keep you where you are, which as much as you don't want to be living on autopilot, as much as you don't want to be feeling unmotivated and feeling tired, it's going to require you to do something different. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if you're feeling like you're on this autopilot, you feel like you're lacking clarity, it requires an interruption of what's happening to shift that. So it is definitely doing something different and asking yourself, am I living in alignment with my values? Do I feel the way I want to feel?
And one of the things that gets me excited is Alex brought up another important component of our program, and it's the letter to your 85, 86-year-old self or from your 85, 86-year-old self. And this is a great perspective to take about when you're feeling stuck to see how temporary things really are. They're very temporary. And to step outside of what you're in to gain a new perspective, still your perspective, but it's from a new place. And changing and shifting our perspectives and starting to look at things from different angles is so powerful in pattern interrupts, as you were talking, stopping those patterns and breaking them and leaning in there to look at the things we want to do, including our whys, including our values, these things that are so important about who we are so that we are actually building out of being. We are creating out of who we are and being rather than being on that either unmotivated cycle or the spinning cycle where we're just not really knowing where we're going with great direction. And this is the exciting part of what we get to do. It's the part that I know we both love because this is where possibility is. And we're going to be leaning into a great part 2 coming up on this. And I'll turn it back over to you, Alex.
So I think the last thing, because I know we always like to leave our listeners with an action step. We spoke into values as well, a couple other episodes before, and we asked you, right, the listener to write down the values and get clarity on what's important to you. Now I think it's a matter of maybe evaluating, taking a look at sort of that inventory and take a look at like, where are you living in alignment with your values? And where's there a gap? Where is there an opportunity? Getting connected with, if you're clear on what it is that you want, write that down and ask yourself, okay, again, what's in the gap? Like ensuring that the values that you've defined are in alignment with what you want. And if you're feeling like, I don't know what I want, I feel stuck, I don't feel like I have clarity, then take yourself outside look bigger picture, take yourself outside of it and think, okay, what would my 86-year-old self maybe say, or what would he or she want? What's nice about it is that depending on how your brain functions and how you're programmed, right? Because as much as we all have our beautiful brains, we also are very gifted and unique on how our brains work. And that's why the power of working with the brain in our clients is that we get to know our clients and we're able to provide different sort of gateways to work with each unique and individual brain, because we all have brains, yes, but all our brains do also in some ways function also very differently. And so that acknowledgement piece, the acknowledgement piece of even as you're listening to this, also acknowledge that you are unique and you have your unique gifts, and feeling whatever you're feeling right now is normal because whatever you are feeling is your brain's keeping you safe. And in order to become unleashed and unstoppable, it really does take for a high performer to acknowledge that guess what? Your brain's doing its job. And there is a way to move past whatever you're feeling.
To reward it. And yeah, I love that. We really want to wrap up this episode with the action steps that you can take towards being unleashed and unstoppable. And that is, what are your values? Ask yourself the questions. What do you need to get clear on? And if you're not sure, just do a brain dump. Just free write. You will be amazed at what emerges in that process. Trust yourself and trust that you do have the answers within you, and acknowledge what you're feeling, where you're at, and that there is ways to move forward. Those feelings are valid. They're important. And rather than stuffing them down, acknowledge them, be aware of them. I hope these tips really help you, and we can't wait to see you next episode. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.